Before we move on to looking at the addition of some custom components to your design, let's take a quick look at how we can add in some of the other design library fittings. I mentioned earlier how you can add in tees by creating split points to your pipes. However, there's another way you can do this as well. In the last video, you added a pipe penetration point into this route here. However, if you changed your mind and decided you wanted to add a tee into this spot, that is definitely possible. So let's take a look at how to do that. I'm going to go ahead and open up this route subassembly and go to Edit Route. And now I'm going to go into my design library, select the tees folder, and I'm going to pick the straight tee inch selection. I can actually drag that directly onto my penetration point, just like I would a split point, and you can see that the tee automatically aligns itself with the pipes that you've already created. So I can go ahead and drop that, select my configuration as usual, and X out. With that, you've added a tee to your design. So this is definitely an easy way to do that in case you wanted to make a change and decided that a split point was the better option instead of the penetration point. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of my sketch now and exit out of the assembly. And you can see your completed route there with a new added tee. Now, a couple other pieces that I wanted to explain how to add into your designs would be crosses, gaskets, and valves. So first of all, a cross is going to be very similar to the way you just added in a tee. But let's go ahead and try it. And this time we're going to open up a different route. We're going to open up this one here, because this has a long section of pipe that we can look at adding some fittings to. So I'm going to right-click on that route, go into Edit Route, and now I'm going to go ahead and create some split points. So I'm going to click on a section of pipe, right-click it, and select Split Route. So now I'm going to add some split points that we can add in here. I'm going to click on this midpoint. Let's click on the new midpoint that was created as well. And then let's do one on the midpoint of this pipe just to space it out a little bit. So now you can see we have a few different split points that have been created. So let's go ahead in and drag our straight cross inch cross over onto one of the split points. And you can see, just like with the tee, you can click the configuration and the cross has been added in. And this time it's created a stub length on both ends since it's a cross and has additional connections that'll now be needed to add to the route. I'm going to X out since I'm done adding the crosses. And there you go. So now you've added in one cross. Again, very similar to the tee procedure. The only real difference is that now it adds an additional stub length coming out of the other side. Next, let's take a look at our valves. So it has a fairly large selection here compared to some of the other ones. Let's just pick one that we can add in just as a trial. I'm going to click on that and drag it over to this other split point that I created. You can see that it started as very large and then sized down to the configuration that it thought would be most suited for this spot on this pipe. Also, you can rotate these parts just like you were rotating some of your tees and elbows earlier. You can click on Tab and see that it will rotate on the pipe, as well as using the Shift and arrow keys, just like before. So feel free to go ahead and rotate those around just to see how that feels. After you are done, you can go ahead and select your configuration and decide if you want to shorten the length of pipe between the pipe nipple and the fitting. I'm going to say no here and click on the X. So now I've added in two fittings on this section of pipe. And now, lastly, I just wanted to mention gaskets. So if you click up here, you'll see that there's one gasket selection, which obviously has many configurations depending on what you need. This can actually easily just be dragged in to wherever you might normally need a gasket to help with that seal. So you can drag it anywhere along any of your fittings, any section of pipe, basically anywhere that might potentially need one of these. And after you drop it, you can select your configuration. And I just put it on the outside here so you'd be able to see it, but feel free to resize it so that it would be inside of your valves, depending on what you need for your sealing purposes for the gasket. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit the X to exit out of the sketch. And then I'm going to hit close on this. Sometimes when you're adding in new fittings, there'll be a little bit of an issue with the update. So I'm going to exit out of my assembly, enter back in just like I had before, select Edit Route, And you can see the issue was that it just had an error in the last update. So now this time when I exit out, we'll see if it'll actually fix the issue automatically for us. And you can see it did. So don't be afraid to just go back in to edit the route. Give the computer another second to think, just in case you have an error that pops up. So now that we've exited out, you can see our completed route here, a split section that we created with 2 segments of pipe, our cross with the different stub lengths coming out of each side, and this new valve that was added in. So now this should give you a better idea of how to add some of the other crucial piping parts to your design.